Good morning. We want to welcome you to the Sunnyside Community Voice. Today we will be hosting our show from the Marcy L. Keyes Activity Center over in the Sunnyside area. Today our show is just a little bit different than normal. We're having a town hall meeting here. We have information that we want to get out to the community concerning our kids. And our show today is from the schoolhouse to the courthouse to the jailhouse. That's what we're going to be talking about today. There is a lot of information. We have a lot of guests on the panel that's going to be giving out information concerning our children. Because I found out a week ago that as early as 10 years old, our kids are getting tickets in school. So today we're gonna introduce our moderator for today, which is going to let you know who's all on our panel. And this will be our show today. Again, welcome to the Sunnyside Community Voice.
We got to get excited about what we're here to talk about today because it's a very serious issue. My name is Abdul-Hakim Ahmed. I'm a civil attorney here in Houston. I've been practicing law now for 23 years, and I didn't know about this problem. I'm going to be very, very candid. I've seen the kids around the courthouse, didn't know what was going on. But it's a very serious situation we're dealing with here. We're talking about a generational problem, that could affect these kids later in their lives. And I'm just simply on it now. One of the things I want to get clear, they asked me to be real with you guys. I'm a real kind of guy. This is not an adversarial proceeding where we're not here to jump up and start screaming and condemning people. We're here to focus on a problem for a small moment and direct our attention to the solutions. Is that okay? And we're not here to say that the kids can go into school and do whatever they want to do, okay? We're not here talking about the kid who beats the teacher up and kids who engage in obviously bad behavior. We're here to talk about kids who are just being kids. Simple things like being late to a class who are being given criminal citations that could affect them for the rest of their lives. Okay, it's my honor not to have to take you through all this information. Like I said, I just found out about it. We have a very esteemed panel who's going to do that for us, and I'd like to introduce them to you at this time. Ms. Althea Cartman. Ms. Cartman is a former principal at Rose Elementary School here in Sunnyside, and she's a big advocate for children. Attorney Lindsay Shulman, criminal defense attorney from New York City, again, very involved in the community. In fact, this information here she's sharing with up in the New York area. The Honorable Judge Hillary Green, presiding judge of J.P. Court, Precinct 7. Ms. Sarah Guidry. Ms. Guidry is the frontline warrior over at the Earl Carl Institute, Thurgood Marshall School of Law. They've been dealing with this for a long time, and she's going to tell you what they're doing. And Ms. Shatara Bridges, again, former teacher, parent, advocate. This is our panel, and at this time, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to them, okay? And I'm remiss, Reverend Nash. I want to thank Reverend Nash, okay, for being very instrumental, in putting this together. Okay, a lot of the issues such as this would never be brought to the attention of the community, so I definitely want to make sure that he gets recognized for help put this whole thing together. So with that, what I'm going to do is, what we want to do is we're working on a schedule here where we're going to let them give you some information, then we're going to let you tell us, okay, give us your input, on this problem, and we're going to try to solve this thing together. Is that fair enough? Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so I have some questions that I think are of interest to me and I think should be of interest to you. The title of this is From the Schoolhouse to the Courthouse to the Jailhouse, and it's been titled The Pipeline. So what we need to do before we can solve a problem, we have to know what the problem is. We have to have maybe characterize it. Show us what you're talking about, and let's see what we can do about it. So what I want to do at this time is turn it over to Ms. Cartman, and I would like Ms. Cartman, if you will, tell us what is the school to prison pipeline that you're talking about, and how is this happening?
Thank you, Attorney Ahmed. Just excited to be here. This is our first town hall meeting, and I'm just privileged because Sunnyside is my community. Years and years ago, as principal of Joseph J. Rhodes Elementary School and a member of church parish here in the community, this is home for me. And I've been an advocate fighting for the quality education for our children, but this situation, which is from the schoolhouse to the courthouse to the jailhouse, you may hear it termed as from the school to the prison pipeline. You may hear it called from the cradle to the prison pipeline, from the cradle of civilization to the prison pipeline, or you just may hear from the schoolhouse to the jailhouse. It is not just a problem that's here in our city and in Texas. It is a national problem. If you Google any of those terms that I just described, you will see that this problem exists across the country. Now, some of our panelists are going to go into a little bit of the history of how we got here, but I know parents, and we have administrators and teachers here, we send our children to school to get what? A quality education. And we expect that to happen. As parents, we send them to a safe environment. I've not only been a principal, but I've trained principals, and one of the 9 competencies that is required by principals is safety. And so the principal's responsibility is to create the atmosphere of a solid, strong academic program. It's serious, but we're also responsible for the teaching of social skills and learning, and responsible for discipline in our schools. There's no teaching and learning without good discipline. And you know that there are things that are happening out in the society that affect what happens in our school. Everything comes into school from the ills of society. And we as teachers and administrators, we have to deal with it. We can't say, oh, we're just here to teach reading, mathematics, and science. We're here to teach the whole child. Now, I don't know, I remember back in the actually early 2000s, when we had a principals meeting and we had the school district attorney there and said, principals, you now can write tickets. Well, I didn't quite understand what that meant, and I had no intentions of writing a ticket where a kid had to go to jail, so I just kind of tuned it out. And that was my lack of knowledge, not going back to research to find out how did this come about and where is it. So I was totally oblivious. Then we noticed that our school districts changed from school security departments, and now they're full-fledged police officers that have the full responsibilities and duties of our Houston Police Department, our Harris County, our Sheriff's Department, and they can actually, with authority, write tickets and arrest students on campus and so forth. So what is this pipeline? When our children come to school and they misbehave, and what we're talking about today are school tickets in Texas. The law says that as administrators and police officers, we can write a child a ticket. And now what is happening, it is happening for everyday misconduct. Throwing an eraser, talking back, giving the middle finger, throwing spitballs, paper airplanes, a child being defiant and just loses control and then just goes off. And as administrators and teachers, we talk about child psychology. There are different stages of development that children go through. As Attorney Ahmed mentioned, this is normal behavior for some of our children. And we have to put that in the parameter of good teaching and good learning. We're going to talk about that. So they come to school ready to learn. They have somebody bullies them, they have a fight. This is how I got started with this. A young man that I knew growing up since 3 years old, very good student, very mild-mannered young man. He'd been bullied, and he was tired of it, and no one was doing anything about it, so he fought back. Both of the students got a suspension, a 3-day suspension. And then lo and behold, his mother says, well, I've got to take him to court. And I said, for what? She said, for the fight. He got a 3-day suspension, which is one punishment, and then he had to go to court before a judge. He had just turned 13. I don't know about you guys, but if I had to take my child to court, I'm afraid of the judge just screaming. I would be afraid, let alone taking my child, and then I not know what to do. And that's what this parent had to do, who was a teacher, excellent teacher. And I said, when she told me that, I started looking up the school district policies, and I said, please talk to the judge and ask for probation or deferred adjudication or something that you'll take responsibility, because when the kids get the tickets, the fines range anywhere from $60 to $500 per offense. And so some children get more than one ticket. And so those fines mount out. Now I know Sunnyside is a wonderful home community, really good people, but my parents here in this community couldn't afford a $500 ticket, nor my students and parents in my other school district on the Southwest area could afford to pay these tickets. This is what troubles me, and you're going to hear some of the attorneys talk about this in just a minute. What troubles me is that when the parents don't pay for those fines, when the child turns 17, they become adult age. Those fines transfer to the student, the child, our children, And if they don't pay them, there's a warrant issued for their arrest and they lose their access to their driver's license. If they don't have one, if they have a driver's license, they lose access to that. How do we get from here to this point when we know that the Texas law is intended for these tickets to be for serious things like bringing drugs or weapons, knives, bomb threats, those serious kinds of things into our schools. But now everyday misbehavior is kids are getting ticketed and the parents have to address these issues. So I'm going to ask our judge if she would share, once they go to her courtroom, what are your obligations and responsibilities?
Thank you very much. I want to thank Reverend Nash and his First Lady for having me out, and I also want to let you know that my partner in Precinct 7, Judge Zanetta Burney, is in the back of the room. I wanted to let everyone know that she's here too. So this is special, all right? You have both of your Justices of the Peace in Precinct 7 here to support parents, students, and the community. Let me say very quickly that when in 2009, folks, the legislature changed the law for parents, 2009. Now as parents, we're not only responsible to clothe, feed, house our children and get them to school, but the legislature said that we're responsible to make sure that they stay in school for whatever their school day is. If that's 8 to noon, 7 to 3, we are responsible as parents. That meant that at that time and now, they can write 2 tickets, one for the child and one for the parent. Court cost, and I'm going down this very quickly because I want to make sure you have the information. Court costs range anywhere from $85 to $90. $85 to $90. That's court cost only. Fines, up to $500 per case. Up to $500 per case. Now I always let people know when they gasp at that amount, it's a lot of money, but Judge Burney and I didn't write that law. We're sworn to uphold it. We didn't write it. So here's my little commercial. For make sure you vote, people. Because the people in the legislature in Austin make these decisions about both parents, children, students, administrators, and the community assembled here. I can talk about now when you come to court, my theory is that everyone gets a second chance. All right, and I realize that this is being filmed, so I'm going to choose my words carefully. Everyone gets a second chance. So when you come to court the first time, you will be reset, parents and students, for however the docket is running, either 30, 60, or 90 days, because we're coming up on the holidays, more than likely to be 90 days, all right? You're reset. During that time, you are under court order to either do something or refrain from doing something. Either you cannot miss any school, no unexcused absences, no discipline problems, no conduct issues, suspension, you may have to go to a class. And let me say this, in the court, Judge Burney and I both make available the person who is the representative of Harris County Programs and Services. Harris County has 90 some odd free programs and services that will address drug addiction, bullying, decision making. So Judge Burney and I both make that available to everyone who comes to the court the first time. Now, the first time we put you on court order, when you come back, when parents come back and students, now here's where the rubber meets the road. Unfortunately, Judge Burney and I don't run community centers, we run a courtroom. And so we have taken an oath to do some things. So after that second chance, when you come back, it's really imperative that both parents and students are 100% compliant with whatever that court order was. Barring illness, I have a lot of teen pregnancy. It's important that we know those issues when everyone comes to court, and we will set you accordingly. Communication is key to this. And so when you come back, if you've not been compliant, then you sit down with the DA and you go over what happened, what didn't happen, and what your fines will be. Now, court cost. Almost everyone has to pay court costs, and let me tell you why, folks. Court costs pay for the clerks who come to my court and work these cases. We have between 300 and 600 cases a week. So as you can imagine, I would love for them to come to work for free, but I don't think that would work. So there's a court cost is the way that we pay for the building, the lights, the case jackets, the staff. That's what court costs pay for. So people look at me and say, oh my gosh, I don't want to pay court costs. But every municipality is in a budget crisis right now. I would have to get rid of people if I didn't charge court costs. In some cases, yes, community service is available. So you can work those fines and court costs out via community service. Let me say that I can speak for Judge Bernie and myself, that we feel it's important that our children see people and are around representatives who look like either them or people in their family. And I want to make sure that that happens. So I always tell my parents and my students, I'm not that much older than you. I don't remember it being a choice of whether I attended school or not. I really don't remember having a choice. But I encourage parents to be advocates for their children. Parents to get involved. Read the handbook that the students get and the handbook they send home. Lots of parents don't know that you can call the school and say, is my child in class right now? And if they are not, then you have the right to say, do you know where that child is? Have you called me? Have you left a message? We need to make sure as parents and community members that we're being advocates for our children. If you see them hanging out, ask them, are you supposed to be in school? What's going on? Is it an in-service day? Parents also, I hate to say this on TV, but sometimes parents, we need to get sick at work. And we need to make some surprise visits every now and then. I never knew when my mother was going to show up, wherever. But sometimes it's surprise visits for the students and the school. And so you have a right to also go to school with your child. I guarantee you, somebody who's 16, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna take a week off because I have the flu, but in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and go to school with you. Since you can't seem to go, then I'm gonna go to every class and make sure that you get there on time. It will only be just a few days, parents, I guarantee you, before all the rest of the 16-year-olds in the class will say, when is your mother going home? Can you get to class on time so she can go? So I thank you for being here today. I want everyone to know that Judge Bernie and I are committed to improving the numbers that we see. And while we do run courthouses, and we are obligated to adjudicate at times, that we can also be partners in this issue. We make services and programs available. We take the time to talk to the children and see what the real issues are. So I don't want anyone, like Ms. Carton said, to feel afraid to come before the judge. We're here. You can touch and feel us. And so I want to thank you all for having us. It's very important information. If you have any questions or problems, concerns, or issues, you are more than welcome to call both of us. We're available through the Harris County website. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Judge.